Well, here we are, and I'm ready to introduce you to the world's dumbest atheist.
No, that's okay. I've already met Pat Condell.
His name is Stefan Hawking. Most of you have already heard of him.
Oh, it's not Pat Condell. Oh, no, I don't know Stephen Hawking. Sorry.
He is the one who wrote, most sets of values would give rise to universes that, although they might be very beautiful, they would contain no one able to wonder at their beauty.
Sounds like something that Stephen Hawking would say. Oh, right. You got confused because, of course, you don't know how to say his name because your education level is that of a child.
Well, first of all, God is out there, Mr. Hawking, in case you don't know it, and He made the universe for Himself, not for you, and He's quite well able to enjoy His universe. So don't worry, if there were universes, He would be enjoying them all. But there are no sets of values, Mr. Hawking, to give rise to other universes. It's as simple as that.
Well, how do you actually know that? Stephen Hawking says there are sets of values that lead to other universes, and you're saying he's wrong, but then you're not actually giving any evidence for this, which, unless I'm very much mistaken, is...
You're just making a speculation that your followers will follow after because you are Stephen Hawking. You are the Pied Piper, and whatever you say must be true.
What you described there is not actually how a scientist tries to put forward their ideas. What you describe is a religious believer demanding people follow them. Scientists put forward theories or hypotheses, and then they give evidence that supports them, or conversely tries to disprove the hypothesis or theory of somebody else. A religious believer will simply assert something, say that God told them it's the case, or refer to something that they then say can't be argued with, like the Bible, and say it is therefore true. We don't believe scientists. We simply are either persuaded or not persuaded by what they give us in the form of evidence, if the evidence is good and actually it supports their theory or hypothesis. So what you're doing is mischaracterizing science and Stephen Hawking, and you're undermining your own argument in the process.
However, there are no sets of values, Mr. Hawking. Okay? They don't exist. There is nothing to suggest there are other universes. This is just another theory that the godless scientists of the world have conjured up to try to prove God doesn't exist.
Wait. So, scientists have conjured up a theory to prove that God doesn't exist, and there's no proof for it, and that makes them wrong. And you believe that God does exist, but there's no evidence, but that doesn't show that you have conjured up God. So can you explain to me how that logic works in favour of the second principle when it undermines the first principle? Because if you're applying that logic to both of them, surely neither of them would work.
And Mr. Hawking is one of the princes of darkness.
Okay.
Okay, so any rational human being with an objective and open mind can see that the Earth, the solar system we live in, is supremely intelligently designed.
Sorry, let me just swap the order of those clips there.
Any rational human being with an objective and open mind can see, and Mr. Hawking is one of the princes of darkness.
Yeah, that statement now sounds even less like something that a rational and objective person would actually say. I think you've just ruled yourself out of the conversation.
He says that if we do discover a complete theory, well, Mr. Hawking, if you don't have a complete theory, I don't know why you're writing books.
And your complete theory is? You don't have one, do you? So why are you making videos on the internet calling him the dumbest atheist in the world? And unless you hold more than 3 chairs at different universities, I think your authority to call this man ignorant is really lacking in any kind of real significance.
And talking about a godless universe.
Okay, I'm going to explain to you a concept called the burden of proof, because it sounds like you don't really understand it. Burden of proof exists for positive statements, that is, statements which assert something is. So, if I say, there is an elephant in the room next to me, then we would not think that was the case without me having made the claim. So the burden falls to me to prove that it is true. I have to give evidence that it is the case, otherwise we have no reason to think otherwise. The evidence would be very simple. I could actually take you into the room and show you there is an elephant. In the debate between theists and atheists, the burden of proof doesn't fall on atheists because they are not making a positive statement. Despite how our atheists are frequently characterized, we are not saying there is no God. That actually is not a positive statement, and it's frequently not what we say anyway. It's theists who are saying there is a God and we know this to be a fact. Therefore, the burden falls to you to provide evidence, and you need to prove to us beyond doubt that it's true, otherwise we don't have to accept it. Now, you're saying that there's a failing on Hawking's part because he is providing a model of the universe that doesn't contain God and he hasn't proved that God doesn't exist, but he doesn't need to. All he's saying is his model doesn't include God because there's no evidence for it. It doesn't need to have a God for it to be functional. He doesn't have to prove anything. You have to prove that there is something.
You don't have a complete theory to prove God doesn't exist. Why are you out there promoting a godless universe, Mr. Hawking?
Okay, so it looks like I need to explain the marketplace of ideas as well. The marketplace of ideas is a concept where different kinds of theories and beliefs and hypotheses are put together, and it is through examining them through comparison of evidence and scrutiny and putting them to the test that we find out which one is correct. So if idea A is held to be as commonly true by people, and idea B comes along and idea B conflicts with idea A, they have to go into the marketplace, and it is the one that provides the best evidence or is able to persuade people the most that will then become commonly held. The scientific method isn't actually about stating categorically and proving that things are true beyond all doubt. It is about saying that as far as the evidence we have access to now is the case, we think this is so. And it'll be so until someone else comes along with a better idea that disproves that. This is how information accumulates and changes over time. It's why things that we thought were right before turn out not to be correct. Frequently, though, there is some kind of connection between the incorrect belief and the new belief, but there always has to be challenge through evidence. What Hawking is doing is putting forward a model of the universe and how it works, and his model doesn't have a God in it. Your model apparently does, and he has as much right to put forward his model as you do yours. Just because your model came first, it doesn't make it right. It has to compete now in the marketplace with his model, and we'll find out whose is right through examination of the evidence. Your evidence is the Bible, his evidence is scientific data. His model does not include a God because it doesn't need to, and he says that the universe can function without one. You say the universe requires a God. Which one is correct? Let's look at the evidence. By wording your video the way you have, what you're essentially saying is that Stephen Hawking has said something that doesn't agree with you, and he should shut his mouth. That's not how debate works, and it's not how the marketplace of ideas works. If you can prove him wrong with access to the information you have, then do it. Don't just say he's wrong and then sit back and laugh.
And he says, if we do discover a complete theory, it should be in time understandable and broad principle by everyone. Then we shall all philosophers, scientists, and just ordinary people shall be able to take part in the discussion of why we in the universe exist. Just ordinary people, eh, Mr. Hawking? Well, I got a word for you. God didn't make it so scientists alone could get saved.
Oh, God, I hate having to hear this one. Okay, what you just said there is a non sequitur. That is, the start of the sentence didn't actually really connect with the end of it. Science is not a religion, and understanding because of science doesn't save you. Being saved is a Christian concept and has nothing to do with science whatsoever. You don't believe in science. Believing in science doesn't give you anything, and just in the same way that you don't actually know anything from believing in religion, there's no connection between the two. So I have no idea why you think that him making a statement about people being able to understand science has got anything to do with salvation.
He made it so ordinary people could see. He created the world we live in.
And again, that's a belief. You don't have any evidence for it. You're saying that you believe that God created the world, and your evidence for it is that you can see it in a way that helps you believe that God created the world. It's completely circular and self-referential. Why can't you understand that your logic doesn't work?
He says it's to have a complete understanding of the universe. Oh, Mr. Hawking! In a million lifetimes you couldn't get a complete understanding of the planet Earth, much less the universe.
Okay, so Hawking's been alive for 70 years. Give him another 10 because, well, he's got access to some of the best medical technology there is. So that's 80 years of being alive, probably, times a million. That's 80 million years. You mean we're not going to understand the world in 80 million years? Wow, we might as well give up now. Oh, and
you know what else Mr. Hawking has said? We're going to have time travel machines in the future.
yeah, that's actually the direct opposite of what he said. In a keynote speech earlier this year, Hawking said that you could travel through time through the effect of relativity, where speed of objects relative to one another means that time has a different impact on them. And he also described how warping space could allow travel through time, but that radiation would make it impossible to go through that warp. So actually you're just making stuff up. There's a link below to the website where his answer to the question of time travel is actually hosted.
We're going to be able to go back and visit Mr. Darwin, who's groping around in the darkness of his mind trying to figure out where all these species came from.
I can't find any proof online that Hawking has said anything like that, so you're not actually arguing with him so much as a version of him that exists purely in your head, which, you know, I've got nothing against fantasy and roleplay, but, you know, let's just be clear here, that is what you are doing. I would also point out it's a little bit rich that someone who's doing something as intellectually dishonest and I would say stupid themselves is actually calling someone like Stephen Hawking dumb.
Well, let me tell you something, Mr. Hawking. Darwin is not back there in time. He went to meet his maker as you're going to do. And all of those who are foolish enough to follow the world's dumbest atheist will land right where he lands, in the bottomless pit.
How does one land in a bottomless pit? Oh wait, it's like one of those Buddhist cones, isn't it? Like, if a tree falls in the wood and there's no one around to hear it, doesn't make a sound. Oh. Okay, well, whilst I'm thinking about this, and I'm sure the rest of us are, if there's any other comments or responses to either MegaSage's or my video, then I'd be very grateful to hear them. This is Illuminati Primus saying thanks for watching.